Окей, Жак, Roxanne. Я бы хотела вам представить Роксану, партнера и коллегу Жака, которая уже долгое время вместе с Жаком занимается проектом Венера.
The Venus project with Jacque for quite some time. Okay, gentlemen, ladies, do we have questions for Mr. Fresco?
My question is, what people will do on this wonderful planet you just described? Because they have nothing to do, if you think about what we do now.
I can attempt to answer that. If I fail to answer it, you have to let me know. You have to say, you didn't answer my question. Don't be polite. Okay, when people don't have to worry about jobs, about residence, about clothing, about food, and about invasions from other countries, or serving in the military, when poverty is eradicated, we will begin for the first time to ask all the questions we never did ask. What makes a man creative? What makes an artist creative? What do we have to do to change our education so that people do not want to see fights anymore? You know, in ancient Rome, it was normal to burn Christians, feed them to lions, because they differed from what the Romans believed. They believed in many different gods. The Christians came to town and said there's only one God. So they thought they were freaks. So they put them in a sideshow. In America, in Salem, Massachusetts, they used to burn witches and hunt witches. But they don't tell you that for every witch you found, you inherited their bank account and their land. When people no longer have to struggle to live and argue with each other, honey, I need a new hat, I need new clothing, I need a new refrigerator. And he says, well, maybe next month when I get a raise, we can get the... You don't have to worry about that anymore. All that's gone. So for the first time, humans will be able to think, question everything, all institutions, all values. For the first time, we will be at maximum creativity, because people are not just given everything, they also learn what's missing. We will work on problems that are common to all people. Heart disease, cancer, cystic fibrosis. These are the problems we should be working on, not training soldiers to be killing machines. I would take all soldiers, send them back to school to become solution finders, to find answers to problems, not killing. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Jacques. I'm Umid. Thanks a lot for such an interesting speech. I have two questions. First, in your mind, in our nearest future, let's say 15, maybe 20 years, what would the education process look like? And if you have some thoughts, what it should look like, should be?
What should the education?
Yes, I think I understand your question. I'm going to try to answer it. I'm going to say that today, children are not really educated. They don't know how to educate them. What we would do with children in putting them in a living circumstance where they plant seeds in the ground and they watch it grow and they make drawings and notes of how it grows so they understand their relationship to nature. First of all, very few people understand their relationship to nature. They will also understand their relationship to technology. They will be brought up not to argue with each other, but to share ideas with one another, not to beat the next fellow, but to update the next fellow. In other words, children will be brought up to share ideas. Today, we patent inventions. When you patent inventions, you prevent other people from using it. Don't you see? The system is essentially cruel in every area. So we will do a very different job. All people will become useful in the future. All people will be spending time in what is creativity. They'll be going back to school to learning how to be creative in the arts, in the music, in all areas. First of all, if you ask somebody, what is creativity, they usually don't know. They say, well, something that some people have and some don't. That's not true. Creativity is taking known elements and putting them together in unique ways. If you don't know what that means, when you see a Martian created in Hollywood, you will notice that it has crab's claws and a grasshopper's head. A creative person is a person that's been exposed to a wide variety of insects and shapes and forms, and that's how they compose creative creatures. So they don't do it. If you bring up a child in a gray ball and just feed it, you produce an idiot. You have to be exposed to stimulus. And we will expose children to new stimulus and new directions. And discussions will be prevalent all over the world. No one will fear ideas. They will share ideas. I said before, there are no prisons, no police, because they're not needed. The people have access to the necessities of life. They do not become corrupt.
Thank you, Jacque. Another question?
Добрый день. Скажите, пожалуйста, вы много говорите о перспективах изменения общества.
You've talked a lot about the prospects of changing the society, and I'm wondering what you think about changing the nature of humans. What do you think about this fight with old age and extension of human life? Thank you.
Well, first of all, old age, I don't know exactly what you mean by it, but the older you get, the more you keep up with new ideas, the more you read, the more extensional you can become to society, the more useful. Instead of sitting back on a rocking chair waiting for death, which most of those people do, I do not associate with most people my age. I'm 95 years old, I'll be 96 in March, and I keep up with the latest ideas. In other words, I talk to children, keep up with their ideas, and advance them wherever I can. We do not use our position of advantage to take advantage of people, to exploit them, to abuse them. You will use your knowledge in the future to enhance the lives of everyone. That'll be the beginning of the civilized world. When I say we're not civilized yet, that's what I mean. We still have wars, armies, navies, poverty, hunger, unemployment, international differences. And when you consider old age in the future, there'll be people that are updated and keeping up with the latest ideas at the forefront of technology and invention.
Okay, Jacque, first of all, thank you for a brilliant presentation. And my question is rather a linguistic one. You just gave a brilliant talk with a lot of emotions and passion. Would you be able to give such talk in a language which is not subject to interpretation? If there will be unification of languages, something quite similar to a mathematical one, will you be able to give talk like that?
Yes, we will be able to do that because we use diagrams, three-dimension pictures, showing what we're talking about. So when a person talks today, you don't see any images, so you invent your own image. Some people picture a society run by technicians. It's not that at all. There's no such thing as technical elitism or any other kind of elitism in a sane society.
Jacque, sorry, you didn't answer my question, because can you show the phrase, or any other kind of, in diagrams?
Yes. Three-dimensional movies of how automobiles work, how plants grow. In other words, they teach children that plants grow. Plants do not grow. They need sunshine, soil, conditions, temperature. They need many different things. And so, of itself, a plant can't grow. A sailboat can't move unless the wind moves it. All things are moved by resonant forces. Children are educated to understand how and why the brain works the way it does.
Isaac, Excuse me, Jacque's a little hard of hearing. This is why I'm here to explain certain things. He's asking if you can give that type of emotional speech in the future if language is unified without emotions.
Yes, you can.
Thank you,
By
Roxanne.
diagrammatic systems. I just got through explaining that. Diagrammatic, while the man is talking, it shows how the motor is inside the wheel and turns the vehicle wheel directly rather than transmission. All things are expressed visually, so you get the same message.
And in the future, we feel that emotions will be expressed very differently. Today, we feel that emotions are more it's like pressing the gas at a stop sign. You're kind of racing your engine. In the future, emotions would be translated into a working process. Like if you have a car accident, you see your children stuck in the car, you don't stand there and say, oh my God, the kids are in the car is going to blow up. You learn how to transfer that emotion by taking a stick or a log and puncturing the window and getting your children out. So emotions are translated into a working action pattern.
Thank you.
Like when I was in Wright Field, Dayton, Ohio, 2 airplanes hit midair. So I ran to the hangar, put a fire extinguisher on the Jeep, and drove out before the plane hit the ground. That's translating emotions into a working, caring system. I hope you understand that.
I guess you answered the question. Thank you, Jacque. And we have more.
Можно? Жак, здравствуйте.
Am I? Hello, Jacque. My name is Ruslan Kachanov. My question is as follows. In the future that you have just described, will people have chips embedded in them or not, and why? Thank you.
Will people have chips embedded in them, and why?
I don't think it's necessary to embed the chips in them. I think you can put them in earrings. So if you have earrings, the chips in the earrings, if you're in an automobile accident, they wheel you in the hospital, those chips bring out your medical records. The doctor doesn't have to ask you what happened. Were people sick in your family? Did you have an automobile accident? What happened? He doesn't have to ask you any question. All your medical records become available immediately by means of chips, and they don't have to be implanted in your body. They could be in a ring, in an ornament, in many places.
Thank you, Jacque. Another question?
Здравствуйте, Жак. Скажите, в мире существует много уникальных вещей, владеть...
There are unique things in the world that you can only get now if you have the money. I'm talking about art masterpieces, for example. How do you think people are going to get access to them? If I want to own a Van Gogh picture, for example, how can I do it if it's just a single piece in the world? Thank you.
Well, the first explanation I can give you is I did talk a little bit about the public library. You can go in and access any book in a modern library today. The same for musical instruments, the same for anything you want, just like the public library. It's available to everyone. And if you're through using your camera in 2 or 3 weeks, if you want to keep it, you can keep it. But if you're through, you turn it back into the camera center, where they keep more cameras than people check out. Do you understand that?
Also, in the future, there wouldn't be any such thing as ownership. Why do you really want to own anything? If you think about it, it's really a burden. You have to keep it up, you have to insure it, you have to create a place for it, you have to purchase it. In the future, people can access whatever you want. And when you have things like paintings, you can give it to somebody. Or if you have things like paintings that people think are valuable, it would be shown to everyone. It's kind of a selfish thing to want to hoard something like that. It's today, people want that type of thing to show off what they have, what they're able to purchase. But it would be looked at as kind of a sickness in the future to have something that somebody else can't have in that way.
Someone asked me, will there be horror movies in the future? If you show kids a movie of the present-day society, that'll be a horror movie.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacque.
Так, можно вопрос, да, задавать?
Thank you very much for your great speech, sir. I have several questions, if I may. I've noticed that you place a special emphasis on the technological layer of the future, so to speak. I listened to some, talk here in the room, and I'm mostly interested in the social aspects of life in the future and the way that life will be governed. Could you please be more elaborate about it?
Before you service a jet engine, you have to go to school for a long time to learn how to service that engine. Yet they let anybody raise a child, which is much more complex than any jet engine. I think there'll be more courses in how children learn, how to get to children. In other words, if you have 2 children and you play with the younger one, you pick up a 4-year-old while the 7-year-old is standing there with that lower lip sticking out and needing attention too. You never single out any child. You never say to a girl, why can't you be like your sister? She takes care of things. She puts everything away and I have to pick up after you. When you ball out one child in front of another, you make jealousy and envy. It's not inborn. That's where it comes from. If you don't know how to educate your children, you go back to school and you will learn how to educate your children so they learn to share ideas. They do not become involved in pushing one another, hurting one another. That's because you don't know how to raise.
Who governs? Questions. What do you have?
People are trained in the science of behavior. They're trained in the behavioral sciences, not psychology as it's taught today. The trouble with psychology is the psychologists try to adjust you to fit this system. They have to be stupid to do that. Psychiatry is the same way. They try to adjust you to fit the social institutions that you're in. That is not science. That's primitive.
There really wouldn't be a group of people who govern you and tell you what you need to do. When you think of it today, our problems are really technical. They're not political. If you ask a politician, how do you get more arable land to grow more, how do you grow more food, and how do you produce arable land to do that? How do you make transportation systems that don't have accidents? How do you eliminate war? They don't have answers to those questions. But if you unleash science and technology to develop a society that runs smoothly, that doesn't have booms and busts, that has good, safe transportation systems, that has clean energy systems, can create cities that are clean, that don't pollute, that are pleasant places to live, scientists come up with those answers. Politicians do not. So you really don't need a governing body of politicians. You need people to solve our problems of hunger, war, poverty, crime. And everybody needs the same thing. Everybody needs clean air, clean water, arable land, relevant education, medical care. And those are technical problems. So we're talking about having the methods of science applied to the social system, not scientists running things. They have the same bias as anybody else in this system. It's a different value system and a different way of organizing society to meet our needs. You know, society is run today for the main aim, wealth, property, and power. Within a resource-based economy, those are not the aims. The aim is the well-being of people and the protection of the environment. That's quite different. You can't achieve those things today in a monetary system.
That was very good, Roxanne.
Thank you, Jacque, for the lecture. I wonder, I guess there was no word about population goals. So what is your opinion about it? How will all nations will deal with it? Because Earth will not be able to sustain all of us.
How do you deal with population growth?
Okay. You know, there are some ocean liners that can carry 1,000 passengers. When they get 1,000 passengers, they know how much food, how much water, how much lighting, how much bedding is needed by experience. And if you have a population that's not educated, that doesn't understand that the population has to fit the character of the Earth's environment. If you have a population far in excess of what the Earth can carry, you are going to have trouble. People have to be educated to that, just like you know that you don't put more than 150 people in an airplane. If you put 400 people in, it won't get off the ground. So you have to educate people to understand what the carrying capacity is of the Earth's resources. Now that doesn't limit us. If we have a limited material, we can invent material that don't substitute for those we have shortages of. But it takes creative people, not politicians. Politicians know nothing. They've never made any real contribution because they don't know what to do. So, for example, when Castro got into power, he knew that the system was corrupt, but he didn't know what to do to make it any different. Now, this is what I mean by that. He could have jacked up automobiles, put a belt on the rear wheel, and run sugarcane processing material. They said, you know, Mr. Fresco, we don't have the money that you have in America to do all these wonderful things. Well, I'd show them how to do it with what they have. People have to learn how to utilize the resources they have intelligently. And what the Venus Project is really about is the intelligent management of the Earth's resources for the benefit of all people rather than a selected few.
Thank you, Jacque.
Жак, большое спасибо за интерес.
Thank you very much, Jacque, for such an interesting speech. So, a money-less society governed by technologies makes me think of what communists actually talked about, but I understand you are not a communist. So how do you see the end of the capitalist society if you are not a communist?
Didn't lay out the disciplines and the methods for attaining socialism. They talked of a world maybe in the future, one for the benefit of people, but how do you do that? In other words, I went to many meetings, socialist, communist, fascist meetings, the Catholic Church, the liberal Catholics. I've been to many different religions and explored it. Religion never provides any information as to how to attain that. They just have commandments. If you don't have the method for attaining that, you leave people in midair. When you get up and criticize the government, if you criticize corruption of the banks, that doesn't tell people what to do. So you leave them in midair. And communism isn't radical enough for the future. It was designed a long time ago before the state of technology had arrived at that position whereby it can manufacture more than enough resources for everybody. For example, we formed a blockade so Germany couldn't get rubber from Sumatra. They had enough technicians to make synthetic rubber. And we have enough scientists and technicians to overcome any shortages and any difficult problem we have today. This cannot be given to us by politicians. They're not trained in how the world works. They know nothing about it. They don't even know how their car works. I've asked many politicians, how's your car work? How does your electric light work? How does your refrigerator work? They have no idea. They're not realistic. They were good, I said, 100 years ago. But politics has to be bypassed, and technicians do not control people. Bridge engineers build bridges. Just like you hire an electrician to fix your electricity. You don't call the butcher. When something goes wrong with the plumbing, you call a plumber. The technicians of the future do not control people. They merely work in the areas they've been trained in. I hope you understand that.
And also, communism had used money. They had police, they had military, they had prisons, they had banks, they had social stratifications. They were for the working class We are for the working class, but for everybody to want to automate as quickly as possible so nobody has to toil with tedious and boring and monotonous jobs.
It isn't jobs that people need. It's access to the necessities of life. The job is boring, painful, and uneducated. A job doesn't use the brain of a person, especially if they work as auto mechanics or a girl stands behind the counter saying, "What can I do for you, ma'am?" That isn't using her brain. We want everybody to participate in the world of the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Жак, большое спасибо.
Thank you very much, Jacque, for agreeing to talk to us. When the Venus Project becomes a reality, what kind of role will animals play? Do you think that we'll continue to abuse animals, or will they gain their freedom? Thank you.
I can only say a few things. Let's say you like dogs, and you've got 15 dogs in your residence, and they defecate on somebody else's lawn. That isn't cooperative, is it? So your dogs will have to be conditioned to stay within your area. And animals are not put in zoos. They're not put in cages. You can walk through tunnels in a natural area where the animals live, and you can observe the animals. You will be in an enclosure, walking and observing animals in the natural condition. We will not put animals in cages or fish in seaquariums. You will take an elevator down where the ocean is 30, 40 feet deep, and you will walk in tunnels and look at the Great Barrier Reef. You will look at all that. The purpose of the cities in the sea is to restore the reefs. We've been dumping crap into the ocean for years. U.S. Army dumped 67 tons of nerve gas off the coast of Miami. How can you love the country, be part of the Army, and dump that stuff into the ocean? You don't know what you're doing. People are not educated enough to take care of the earth. They just don't know. They're not bad. It's not that they're evil. They just don't know. So I'm saying the schools of tomorrow will educate people as to how to live in this world, how to relate to one another without getting mad, and how never wanting to hurt any other human being. This is what's missing in our world today. We don't know how to do that. And I've been working with drug addicts, alcoholics, petty thieves for years, turning them around, changing their value system. You know, you don't change your value system of another person with logic. When the head of the Ku Klux Klan said to me, he said, "Jacque, you're a smart guy. What do you think of the Ku Klux Klan?" It's a great organization, but it doesn't go far enough. That gets his ear. What do you mean? If you attack, you lose it. I hope you understand me.
Thank you. Another question here we have.
Jacque, hello. I have one simple and short question. What do you think about the end of the world next year in December? Thank you.
What do you think about the end of the world next year in December, as I predicted?
Well, I don't know about those things. I leave that alone. I have no way of assessing those values unless they point out that there's a buildup of pressure in the earth, there's going to be tremendous volcanic storms, unless man in his stupidity drops into a nuclear weapon in the world. If we have a nuclear war, you can kiss the earth goodbye. Because man is not smart enough yet to work on this type of society. People keep asking me, what can we do to avoid war, catastrophe, earthquakes? And I'm telling you, this is what we can do. If you fail to do that, you will have the same problems over and over again. The nation that cannot see the future will be bypassed by nations that can.
As long as few nations control most of the Earth's resources and the bottom line is profit, as Jacque says, you're going to have the same problems over and over again. We don't go to war to bring democracy and to bring equality and equitability. We go because other countries have resources that we want control over, or an easy route for resources or cheap labor. So, no matter how much you talk about peace and goodwill, without a blueprint as to how to achieve it, it will never happen. And it will never happen when everybody's out for themselves and being vultures off of one another within the monetary system. We have to learn how to share the Earth's resources as the common heritage of everyone. And with that, we will begin to learn what it means to be civilized and begin to eliminate war and poverty and hunger. We would work on the problems, as I said, that are common to everyone. People think it's money that you need to give you incentive to work on things. No, it's not. When people are interested in solving problems, when they see that the things they are doing are improving everyone's life, when the benefits go directly out into the culture without the hesitation of the marketplace or patents, when you see the level of living increase for everyone, that gives you incentive to do more things. And when everyone is educated, and that's not held back by restrictions of the monetary system, then you'll see the standard of living getting higher for everyone. If that's not enough incentive, no war, no poverty, no crime, I don't know what is. I look at this as being the utmost in spirituality. People say, well, what will happen to spirituality in the future? All these things that the Venus Project is striving towards and giving you a method of how to achieve them is the most spiritual thing I have ever heard of. Otherwise, it seems to be just lip service in this culture.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Jacque, and hello, Roxanne. I'm Nick, and the first thing I want to tell you that I really see, and it's really difficult to understand how you're tired. To tell the same things all the time to the people. About 80 years, you're trying to do it. And I really want to tell you thank you for you still trying to tell this to people. So I understand everything you're talking about, and I really want you to understand that here are a lot of people who understand you, who really want to change this world. But I think that the most big problem that we have now, that a lot of people don't want to change this world. They really don't want. And if we will do it right now, for example, without some big process to make some base for that, for example, it will be rivers of the blood and it will be wars. For sure. So I think now we're gonna find all of the people who really care about this world now. We should to make some alliance or maybe union and to start maybe from the poor parts of the countries where if we believe that the education of growing up children, for example, is stronger than the genetic, and we can make some big education processes. Yes, maybe some part of us will not see changes in this life, but maybe 10 or 20 years later, if you believe in the law of the critical mass, I just hope that you understand me now. I'm talking about education, how we can feel, how we can explain and to the people really, to make people doing something because of you was talking this. That's what I mean.
I think I understand your question. It's happening all over the world, not just in your country. Things are breaking down all over the world. And so they're all looking for answers now. Unfortunately, people are not rational beings. They have to lose their homes, their job, their car. When they lose things, then they say, oh, what's wrong? People will not change unless they face the conditions that force them to change, which, if you consider the Russian Revolution, that people were so abused under the Tsarist government, so abused under that structure, social structure, that they fought back. Well, when people lose their car, their home, their job, and when people can't afford to, most people do not drive the kind of car they want. They drive what they can afford. Most people don't live in the homes they want. They live in what they can afford. So what the word freedom doesn't have any meaning unless you make it available to everyone. And we can do that. I know that science and technology can solve any problem. When it comes to a military problem, like a Manhattan Project, making the atom bomb, the government put all kinds of money behind it, but nothing behind solving real problems common to all people. There's insufficient funds. The future will make all the material available to every research lab to fight cancer. Whatever we have will be available. You don't have to dig up nickels and dimes for research in heart disease, cystic fibrosis, AIDS, anything like that. No more nickels and dimes. All out research, and all labs will share ideas with one another.
There is a time also in society when you have to automate in order to compete with all the other companies that are automating for more profit. The more companies automate, the less people will be employed and have jobs to buy the things that are turned out. This scenario is the end of the monetary system in itself. And now is the time to talk about an alternative, to look into the Venus Project, learn about it, and talk to other people about it. Otherwise, they'll do the same things over and over again. Just like in Egypt, they threw out the person they didn't like, and now they have a system that's worse. They didn't know what to advocate. So this is a viable alternative direction to work toward.
Okay, thank you. Another question here. Jacque, Roxanne, спасибо.
Thank you very much, Jacque and Roxanne. Thank you very much for being there. When I first learned what you say, I actually wept. You actually brought me back to the revelations I had when I was becoming an adolescent, when I learned of the inequities of the society. You know, when I first tried to adapt to the cruel society. And I share your values. Could you please tell us what we can do in order to make the project Venus a success across the planet? Thank you.
Okay. I myself and Roxanne and Joel do not have any power. We're not rich, we're poor. It depends on what everybody does, not me. I'm not in charge. I can't even get on NBC, which is owned by General Electric. So you see, we don't have the freedom of news today. So what you can do is to talk to other people as to what the Venus Project is. They think it's a society managed by science. It is not that. All that the scientists do is carry out their profession in agriculture, construction, bridge building, but they do not tell people what to do or how to live.
We would ask you, too, to go to our website, thevenusproject.com, and check out under Get Involved. We have many people all over the world. We have chapters all over the world. We have people who are working with us, trying to get to the media, trying to get to different events. And we have a lot of things that we're working on. We're working towards a major motion picture right now because we think it's very important to show people in an entertaining way what the future could be like. They have no idea. And we want them to come out of that film and out of the movie studio and say, why can't we live like that now? So we are working on this. If there's anybody in film who would like to join us and help us in this way, we'd be glad to hear from you. So check out our website again under Get Involved. There are a lot of projects we're doing. We have professional database where we have about 1,800 or 2,000 people signed up working with us on many projects, doing more final blueprints and many other things. So please check out the website.
Спасибо, мы с вами. Okay, another question? Maria? Your question. Okay.
Dear Roxanne, dear Jacque, great thanks for the valuable knowledge, for your unique vision. Let me ask you, let's imagine that during the evolution, people will possess new quality or new possibility. To your opinion, what that would be? Thank you.
Are you talking about the values? What types of new values?
No, I'm talking about quality, the new maybe trait of the character, the new possibility that will have people during evolution process.
What are the possibilities? I'm not exactly sure of the question. I'm sorry.
Каков в процессе эволюции, каким новым...
Actually heard that. So as the humanity evolves, what kind of new traits and...
What kind of new trades and capabilities will people have?
People will study various branches of agriculture, oceanography, the sciences, the things that enable things to work. Everything that you have today, your electric light, your washing machine, your refrigerator, is all technical. Nothing is political anymore. And so politics, like I said, was great in the past, but it's a thing of the past, and it doesn't work today. They don't know what to do. So what will happen in the future? People will share resources, and those that don't have resources will share knowledge with those that do have resources, so that equipment will be made available to all people, regardless of whether they have the resources or not. We now have the capacity to produce enormous quantities of goods. Proof of that is war. When war comes, we give people machine guns, airplanes that are worth $1 billion apiece. We put all kinds of equipment in killing machines. We never do that to elevate human beings. People are very poorly educated. It's the main problem. You have to inform people, educate them as to why you believe or accept certain things. Do not argue with people. Merely present what you know to people to help them understand. The more people you have that are informed, the less the problems will be during the transition. The transition from a monetary system to a resource-based economy will be painful. I'm sorry to say that.
And in the future, people don't have to be trained at how to make money in regards to being banks or lawyers or insurance agents or salespeople. So people will be trained on how to solve problems that are similar to all of us, like cystic fibrosis, heart disease, growing plants with good soil, being able to make more plants per acre, energy systems, things that are related to what we need to live a constructive life. They'd be looking into how to educate people, constructive and cooperative and innovative. So the values in the future will be relative to the social design that we are proposing, not to what we have today.
Thank you, Roxanne, Jacque, and we have another question.
Спасибо вам, Жак и Роксана. Я считаю, что Россия...
I believe that Russia should be a great staging place, if you see what I mean, for your project. We've got so many resources. We shall be happy to welcome you here if you ever consider relocating.
That's such an invention.
Мы за вас даже можем проголосовать.
Actually, we will vote for you in the upcoming presidential elections.
But if I were elected, I'd be shot within a week, I think.
Вопрос такой.
It takes a lot of people understanding this before we can effectively move in the right direction. Thank you for your attention. And thank you for the opportunity to present these concepts.
Вопрос такой. Вот вы говорили, что есть...
Now my question. You've said that if a person wants something, he will come to this resource center or whatever. Will he be able to get an iPhone there, for example? iPhone. And...
Automatically. Yes.
And my second question...
Что убережет людей от... употребления? Будет ли какая-то...
How do you fight excessive consumption?
Okay. You have a chip on your ring, and when you go up to a place and you say, I'd like 3 television sets, it says you already have 3 television sets.
You know, it's just like going to the moon. If you were going to the moon and you were making a settlement on the moon, you wouldn't need to bring money. You'd need to bring the materials that you need. And people wouldn't go and hoard certain things. There'd be no reason for that behavior. If you had that behavior in the future, you'd be helped, really, because there's no need. It's an old value system that you're pulling from an old system today. But when you have things accessible, people wouldn't hoard things like that. It's just like if it rained gold today, right now, or gold dust, and it kept raining gold, you take it out of the streets and you put it in your drawers, basement, you put it in your attic, and you store it as much as you could. It continued to rain gold for months and months and months. You'd push it out because you'd have no value. You wouldn't want to hoard anything. You wouldn't want to keep anything. It's a burden to keep things. And why would you want to? Nobody would be impressed if you had 3 automobiles in front of your house. They would think that you're restricting other people from using those automobiles. So it's a very different way of thinking. And before you moved into the city, you'd go to classes, just like before you learn how to fly, you go to classes as to how the plane operates, how you land, how you take off, and the characteristics of the plane. So you go to classes and you learn about how that city is run, and you reject a lot of the old value systems that you carry with you that would be burdensome into the future, that would not work. Jacque always talks about when you come out of the slime, some of the, how do you?
Primordial.
Yeah, when you come out of the primordial slime, our ancestors, they brought some of the slime with you. You'd be bringing some of your old values in the future, but you'd be outgrowing them as time goes on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jacque and Roxanne. You know, it's been like the 10th lecture on the Knowledge Stream project, but I've never seen so many questions. And if I may suggest such a solution, probably we will gather the questions from the audience in our Facebook group, and then if I will send them to you and you will answer it, at least shortly, all the questions that our respected audience has to you. Okay?
We would be glad to. We'd also want to mention that on our website, we have over 100 questions and answers from the years that we've been doing this. So you could check that out as well, but we'd be glad to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to thank you once again, me and the audience. We all thank you for your input.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yes, very much.
Okay, hope to see you in Russia soon, Jacque. And Roxanne,
I
too.
hope so.
And I would like to thank all the team from the Venus Project who was helping us, the Joel whom we met as well. So thank you guys very much. See you.
Let's make it happen.
Thank you.